Welcome to Brad's World. This channel that I decided to create is 100% dedicated to revealing and analyzing the insanity of the left. Every single day since I started studying this stuff, for the last 3 years, it became very obvious very early on what they're doing. And I love talking about it. I thought, why not create a channel on YouTube to talk about it, because I like doing it anyway. And I have a whole lot of time right now to do this kind of stuff because back in December I got diagnosed with cancer. And I have stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so I'm taking a leave from work because chemotherapy and immunotherapy sucks. And so I have all the time in the world to do this, so I thought I'd see if I could figure out how to do it and see if people will be interested in seeing this very simple stuff how I analyze this stuff, by using very simple common sense, by using very simple examples that I'll be showing both in the past as well as now, and using zero political correctness because I don't believe in such a thing and I seriously don't care about that. So some of the things I'm going to be going through for a very simple example would be this immigration debate that's going on right now. Controlled borders versus open borders. I can't figure out the insanity of having open borders. No country has open borders. I think we have the most open borders of any country in the world. And what's really odd about it, when you look at the Democratic Party, you can go back 5, 6, 7 years, and you can flat out see it on YouTube. You can go anywhere on there and just type in Obama or Hillary or Schumer or Pelosi, the head people of this Democratic Party. They all were for border control. They were all for not allowing tens of thousands of people dying every year of drugs that come in from Mexico, and the millions that are addicted to them. Look at the human trafficking. How many hundreds or thousands of women and children are raped every year or killed? Why is that not a national emergency when it affects millions upon millions of people? I can't figure that one out. So they were all for it years ago, so why suddenly are they not now? Because they hate Trump. They flat out hate him. Because he's destroying and goes against everything that this Socialist Party wants. I see it every day in the news. I see it all the time on there. So this site that I wanted to create was to show this to people, show the obvious examples of their insanity. Look at their new poster child, Cortez. This woman's insane. Who would honestly say the world is going to end in 12 years due to global warming? This is their new poster child. Can you believe that? That shows the insanity of socialism. I would have to seriously laugh if this girl ever ran for president, ever became a huge portion of their party. Can you imagine? It would seriously give me some great material. And so what I want to be able to do is debunk all the things that they say, the hypocrisy that they have. It is insane how much hypocrisy they do. And I wrote a book back in 2017 after the elections. I called it The Rise of Trump. And in it, I looked at the past. In the Obama years, how he slowly began the division of this country. And nobody wants to talk about that. How did Trump win? I didn't think he was going to win. Nobody thought he was going to win. That was a total shock. But why did he win? Because of the total polarization of what people think is right or what they think is wrong. And I'm going to be going through this a lot in the coming months if I can do more and more of these videos and describe to you the obvious examples. I have tons of examples. Of course, the mainstream media gives me a tremendous amount of material every single day anyway. So why not do this? and I do enjoy talking about it. I began debating people back in 2015 during the election cycle, and began studying this stuff aggressively. I've debated hundreds and hundreds of liberals and socialists. And it's going to be pretty amazing coming up in 2020 how much of the socialism is going to be revealed and talked about, their ideas, their concepts of tax the rich and everybody be poor, and they get to keep all the money. Versus when you look at the Republican side, the American dream. What happened to the American dream? I don't understand why people even vote for these people. You want to tax all my money. You want to keep all my money. And I worked hard for it. I'm I'm in the middle class. I make good money. I don't want you taking it from me. I worked hard for it. And there's a tremendous amount of misunderstanding and misinterpreting when it comes to what their mainstream media and social media does. When you look at the deception and the deceiving, and sometimes the flat out lying, and I'll be showing some of those very simple examples. One of the quotes in my book that I always like to say is, the Democratic Party is on an agenda. Their propaganda is to deceive and divide us while Trump is in office. It is both deliberate and obvious. And I'm going to be going through a lot of these things. And so how I'm going to be analyzing stuff, I was thinking earlier, like when they talk about Russian collusion, Trump's supposedly worked with the Russians to somehow alter the voting process. There has never been any sign of that, like ever. And then they say, well, they had all these things come up to be pro-Trump and pro-Trump. Every single thing I saw during the election cycle, both in social and mainstream media, was all pro-Hillary. It wasn't pro-Hillary. It wasn't pro-Trump. We all know that. It's very obvious. Now, who was working with the Russians? I'll devote total videos, I'm sure, to how Hillary, let's look back at Hillary. Who got paid $500,000 to do a speech in Russia? Bill Clinton. Who paid money? Who got shares in uranium stock that ended up going to Russia? Who sold our uranium to Russia? The Democratic Party was in on this. But yet they always got to flip it around and say, oh, Trump is colluding with them, when they were colluding with them. It just becomes very obvious when you watch the news enough. I have to force myself to watch CNN and MSNBC and some of those channels to see the hypocrisy and the flat-out lying that happens. And so I'm going to be going through a lot of that stuff later on. I mean, there were very simple things like I saw the other day. Suddenly they were coming up with Trump's taxes. Trump doesn't pay taxes. They actually went back to that. Remember, they were doing that a lot like crazy during the election cycle. And now suddenly they're doing it again. And when you think about that, if the Democratic Party, and there's tons of proof of this, and I'll have to do a particular video of it sometime maybe, working with the head honchos of the FBI, doing some very shady things. We all know this, but the left wants to deny it. If the Democratic Party is in cahoots with the FBI, the money they make, way more than their salaries, a lot of these congressmen, and even Obama, I have a feeling that the IRS is probably in their pocketbook as well. Now, I am one, I'll tell you right now, I am not a conspiracy theorist. I don't believe in conspiracies. I don't think about them. I do a lot of research, do tons and tons of research. And so when it comes up with this particular subject of taxes, he doesn't pay his taxes. I'm like, don't you think that the IRS would have a long time ago, most likely during the election cycle, said, hey, he's not paying taxes, and went after him. And that would have ended the ability for Trump to get anywhere. So it's been 3 years now. I'm pretty positive he pays his taxes. But you got to understand, when it comes to paying taxes with with companies. Who wrote all the loopholes? Who wrote all the laws? Who agreed to these laws? Congress. Both the left and the right, mostly the left, put in a tremendous amount of regulations, raising taxes, tons and tons of these loopholes. But what a lot of people don't want to talk about is the small businesses. They are well over 90% of the entire businesses in America. And these small businesses can't afford or don't know how to get all through all these loopholes. I get tons and tons of stupid phone calls these days. What the heck? Lost my train of thought. So these loopholes that a lot of these small businesses, they don't know how to do. They can't afford to hire these big law firms to get them through them. Well, we all know large companies have the ability to use the best lawyers and the best tax consultants in the land to find all these loopholes. So Trump is only following the laws that are on the books to pay the taxes that he's required to pay. And they always say, well, the rich never pay their fair share. If you take away all those loopholes, you take away all those laws, all of the different types of taxes they get hit with is about 50% of their income. Who can survive losing 50% of your income? No one can. I know I couldn't survive. And during the Obama reign, with all of these small businesses being taxed so aggressively, they went out of business. Hundreds of thousands of them probably. At least tens of thousands of them. And these are hardworking people that earn their money, that work hard for it, work 12, 15, 18 hours a day. They work hard for this money. Why would you take it away? And so when they say that they're not paying their fair share, these people are paying a tremendous amount of taxes, 50% of their income. That's why they couldn't survive. Now Trump at least reduced that down to where they can, reduce some of those regulations so they can thrive. That's why companies are coming back. That's why we have the least amount of unemployment for blacks, Hispanics, women in decades, if not ever. And women, that is the stranglehold, and that is also what socialism is. If you look up the most basic definition of socialism, it is government owns corporations. What do you think Obama was doing? Raising high taxes and raising high regulations. He was attempting to control them. So this is what I'm going to be talking about a lot on this channel. Pick a subject, analyze it very, very simply, and then talk about it. It's not that difficult to understand this stuff when you start paying attention to it. So I wanted to say thank you for tuning in, and I hope I can get some more and more subscribers. We'll see what happens. I love talking about this stuff, and we'll see you again on the next one. See you later.